Welcome, everyone, to Full On Insanity with Nicola Matt. I am your host, Nicola Matthews. Today, I had the pleasure of sitting down with fellow writer, my co author, and a very dear friend of mine, Angel Scott. Angel, I want to thank you for being here. I've been looking forward to finally getting these podcasts up and out. So, thank you again for being here. Thank you all for joining me. Angel, how about you kind of start out just telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm Angel Scott. I'm from Fort Dodge, Iowa, and I write romance books, which is plain romance and erotica. I also write taboo books, which sell better than my plain romance. And I also work at Walmart as a cashier, but I'd rather be a stay-at-home writer someday. And I also started working on vampire stuff with my author friend Nicola Matthews, and that's been very fun. And we're starting to work on more books together. And we also have some books in the bookstore here in Fort Dodge. It's called Book World. So hopefully people can check that out. And I gotta think.
Okay, so what have we got going on? What's your latest news? What do you have that you're currently working on that we can see coming up from you in the next 2, 3, 4 months?
Well, Weekend Gone Wrong should be coming out the next month or so. That will be very intense subjects, and it will have murder and held hostage, but it'll also be some romance going between the victim and the kidnapper, which would be called like Stockholm Syndrome. A lot of people don't think that happens, but it does.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be interesting. And there's also real facts in there about myself. And then I'll be working on the second and third books of that same series. And in book 3, I have actually pictures of myself in there to show what the character looks like. And that one I'm hoping to actually sell a lot more once I get the naughty version done. Just waiting for Nicola Matthews to help me with the second half of the naughty book. Someday we'll get that done. In between all the other books we're getting done.
Absolutely. We just had our, well, I say just, it's been a couple of months since Jinx came out, but we did have the third book in the Sweet Seduction series that launched the week of Thanksgiving. So had a lot of fun with that one. I've loved writing the entire Sweet Seduction series. Really hope that we can finish the last 2 books in that series. We may end up doing some spin-offs. I know we've had talked about that. We've had a lot of fun with it. So, yeah, lots of things we got going on in the pipeline. Different short stories, some novellas, some full-blown novels. So we've got a lot of exciting things coming out between what me and Angel are doing together and also the individual projects that Angel's working on herself. So, awesome. Can't wait.
I know. I can't wait, too. I want to do more with the, I can't even think of her name right now, Alicia, because I love doing her klutziness. Because I'm a klutz, and I love doing the klutzy part.
Cool.
It was fun. That's probably my favorite part. And then we also have to finish up the one with Alicia with her new boyfriend. I'm hoping that we'll get that one done soon where the ex comes back. That'll be interesting.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
will
some
definitely
people
be.
go with their exes. Never know
That
when
ought
you're
to
going
be,
to have problems.
yeah, very interesting, a lot of fun. We can get into a whole lot of trouble with that. So, yeah, I'm
Yes.
excited about everything dealing with the Sweet Seduction series. I know it's a lot of fun to kind of break off from what I'm used to doing and just deal with something that's just fun and sexy. You know, just to be doing it. I know a lot of the stuff that I've dealt with the Before the Sunrise series is, even though it's action adventure and it's paranormal, to me it's just so serious. I deal with so many serious issues, and it kind of echoes a lot of what's happening in the real world, that it gets very deep and very serious sometimes, and I like being able to toss that to the side and write something that's just fun and entertaining, like the Sweet Seduction series. So tell us, when and why did you begin writing? I kind of feel like in today's society, a lot of authors just kind of wake up one morning and say, hey, I think I'm going to write that book today. But in reality, that's usually not what happens. It's usually a whole set of events that kind of happens over sometimes the course of a lifetime, over or the course of several years, that actually drives someone to first sit down and start penning their first novel. So what was that like for you? When and why did you first begin writing? What drove you to do that, to actually finally sit down and put pen to paper, so to speak?
Well, honestly, I'm a little bit more unique than most people. I actually have a learning disability, and so I always liked writing. So I just wrote, you know, how you write in your little journal when you're a little kid, teenager, or whatever. I started doing that, and then me and my best friend Lisa actually started wanting to write like short novels in the notebook and just share each other's work, and then we grade it like we would be like a teacher. And so she was the only one that read any of my stories that I did. And then when I got a little bit older, I actually read a couple of romance books, and I didn't like how the ending went. So I actually rewrote the whole book and how I wanted it to end, and that was from V.C. Andrews. I do not remember what the book was called, but I do remember doing that, and that took like a 3-notebook type deal. And Lisa said I actually had talent and someday I should write, but I figured I wouldn't be able to because I would think in my head, you'd have to have schooling in your past before you write a book. So I never had the guts to do any of that. And when I did get to finally go to college, my college was paid for because I ended up going into the VEST program here in Fort Dodge, and they only would pay for 2 years worth. And there was only one writing class I did, and that was basic writing, and I barely passed it. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to be good enough to do that. So I went ahead and did certified nursing work because I knew how to do that, and I did that for 15 years. But I came across a adult website in the process, and they actually had stories on there, and somebody requested a story, and I wrote it. And I continued to just do stories for free. And finally all the readers said that I actually had talent, and to look up some publishers because there might be somebody that would like my stories. Well, that's when I came across Fortitas T. Wolf for Lot's Cave, and he took my first story, My Handsome Brother. And that's where I came across and started doing that. I also did one from that same website called Weekend Gone Wrong with another fellow writer. His name was Chad Bennington, but then he blocked me on Facebook later on, so I hurried up and finished the book, and I didn't edit as well as I could have because I thought he was going to take the book away from me. So I just hurried up and edited the rest of it and hurried up and published it in 2012. So that's where I came up with wanting to become an author, is from that site. And I gave them thank yous in my book, too. So that's where that came from. And I've been writing ever since.
Awesome. So do you have a specific writing style or a particular author that you kind of relate to that you think maybe you emulate when you're writing, or you just kind of just do your own thing?
I usually do my own thing, but I have noticed I'm sounding more like my author friend Nicola C. Matthews, where I'm writing a little bit different words. Trying to think one of the words that she's come up with. I can't think right now what it was, but I'm starting to write more like her. And I'm trying to be more like my dad too, be descriptive. So I was told I am getting a little better. I was taught to get rid of the was, have, and all that from the publishers, and I've noticed that does help make it sound a little bit smoother.
And
I'm getting a little better on that.
I'm a that whore. I did not realize that until my last editor pointed it out. Why do you use the word that so much? And I realized I'm a total that whore, unfortunately.
I use that a lot, too.
It's a crutch. With me, it started out as a crutch because I never could figure out when you're supposed to use who and when you're supposed to use whom. So as a crutch, I replaced it with that, and it worked everywhere. But then it wasn't until my last editor pointed out, do you realize how many times you have written the word that in here? So I'm a that whore, unfortunately. I write it when I'm doing my rough draft, but then I have to go back and just, edit it and take it out of there. But yeah, I'm a total that whore, writing, speaking, unfortunately. So how much of your book is actually realistic, based on an actual event that happened?
Well, on Weekend Gone Wrong, I've had a seizure, so that's in there. There's true feelings in there, but I've actually never done any of the events. But I do picture everything I write. So if I sometimes I might talk a little different than other people, so some of it might sound a little bit goofy to other people. And so I finally think I put, dear readers, I put that everybody talks differently, and I talk in fragmented sentences, so there will be some of that stuff in the book so that people will know that it's going to be meant that way, so they don't give me a hard time about it. So that's what I did. And I always put stuff about myself in the book to make it easier to write also.
Yeah, I'm one of those that there's, and I think a lot of writers are like this, that there's a little bit of themselves in every single character that they do. So how many of your characters is based off an actual person that you, either a celebrity or someone that you've actually known, or do you just literally just make them up and they're not coined after any particular person?
Yep. Yep, that's what I do too. Makes them a lot easier to write.
Definitely. So what book or author has influenced you the most in your writing career?
Influenced me the most? I would say Nicola C. Matthews.
I don't count.
Keeps me going.
Did you have
and my other one would be Constance Bouvier. She is the one, Bouvier, excuse me. Constance Bouvier. Sorry, hon, but I do know how to say it. She's actually on Facebook, and she actually edited my second book because she didn't like my first one as well because of the intense subject. But she did like my second book, so she helped me edit that because she's very picky, like Nicola is, on the word choices and make sure the commas are where they need to be, and past tense. Sometimes I mess up the past tense and all that. So she actually helped me to make sure that one sounded okay before I published that one. And she did it for free. I did offer to give her a free book. She told me no. So it does help between her and Nicola to keep me going. And my dad. He helps me keep going too. And my husband.
That's
He helps me to remind me I might have made some mistakes, but you can go back and fix it if you need to.
Exactly. So are you finding that you get a good bit of support, have a good support system within the family or within the author community?
I think the author community is actually getting very bad about doing that because I was in a couple of them, and they kept trashing these other authors because somebody had posted something that they wrote, and some people were actually very rude about it. And they even were rude about mine because I had, you know how you think the keyboard works, so you're busy writing it and then you post it. Well, I didn't notice that one of the keys didn't work, so I had a few mistakes in the post when I was promoting my book, The Return, and one of my author friends had actually pointed it out and said, would you buy this book from this author? And then all these people kept saying no, and I didn't, and then I was like, dude, you could have at least told me before you posted on Facebook. So I actually made him feel bad, but thankfully it got me noticed from a PR firm who got a hold of me on Facebook, and I actually started promoting the book even more, but now I owe them, so I got to wait until I finish paying it off to go back to get some more interviews and stuff. But so yeah, some people are very rude, and then there's others that are just nicer. It depends on which group you go in. So it might take you a few days to realize who's nice and who's not. But I think friends and family are better at being nice than the authors, because it feels like a competition for them for some odd reason. That's why I finally posted that I want everybody's book when I get enough money, but you might have to give me some time. So I finally tagged certain ones, and they said, don't worry about it, Angel. I'll keep you a copy. I'll save it back for you. So I have some people saving back a copy. Nicola would be one of them also. But I'm not rich, so I'd like to eventually become rich enough where I can buy everybody's books. But I don't think we should have to be in competition because we all write something. All of it's all been done before, I'm sure. And we all talk differently, so all of it will sound different. But I think we all should be able to support each other and promote each other and all hopefully get known. That's the whole point of it, I would assume.
Absolutely. And, I mean, it is a competition. I mean, we are in competition with each other, but there's no reason why we can't be nice about it. I kind of equate it to having band members on tour with each other. You know, you're kind of using each other in a way that if one band, you know, doesn't have nearly as many fans that came out to see the other band, what is the point of trashing or bad-mouthing that band that you're on tour with when some of their fans could potentially become some of your fans?
Yep.
So there's no need to, you know, not try to help and support each other. Even though we are in competition with each other, I don't have just one favorite author. I don't have one favorite band. I'm out there buying and supporting, you know, and telling everybody about all these different bands. So even though we are in competition with each other, it's not like somebody's only going to ever buy this one book from this one author and you're having to beg them, oh, let me be the one that you're always buying from. They can buy everybody's book. So I don't hardly see the point in everybody. You hear all the time about people going and one-starring fellow authors' books because they're jealous or they're pissed about something. I also don't think that, you know, if you're going to criticize, do it tactfully. There's no need to be rude or just flat out mean. There, you know, there's very tactful ways of pointing out mistakes, and how you react to that, you know, is ultimately going to show what type of person you are.
Yep. I agree. It definitely will show that you're not very nice.
Yeah, definitely. So what's been the hardest part for writing for you?
The editing. Definitely. And then I'm not, for some reason, my dad said I need to start getting a strong bone because I'm scared what people will say about my book. Because I know I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect writer. I barely passed the English. In fact, I even failed English Composition 1 when I tried to go back to college. That was actually my third class I did for business. I was trying to go for a business field. Needless to say, I quit because they wasn't helping me with my learning disability. Can't learn if they don't give you back your stuff to tell you what you did wrong and look pretty stupid if you write your sentence wrong and you're in the business field, and you can look pretty dumb. So I quit going to that, and so I'm always worried that I'm going to sound like a dumb writer. So I try to picture how people would want to see the book and how I want to see it, and I try to just make it sound like me. And then when there's other people that look at it, then I actually had editors try to put words in there that don't belong, and that's why I try to do my own editing, because a lot of people like to change your stuff, and that's not how you should do that. So like, editing is the worst part. And coming up with names is getting harder to do too, I've noticed.
Yeah, I've noticed that the further in, the more books that I write, the fewer and fewer names that I'm able to come up with. And I've started Googling exotic names, Greek names, Italian names, all these different things, because there's only so many Jacks and Georges and and Davids and Michaels and all of these different names that I can use. And I know I had a lot of people that like made so much fun, like just poked fun at the names in the Before the Sunrise series, because I have a vampire named Stealth, which was actually a nickname, a vampire named Requiem, which again, in my vampire world, when you become a vampire, you leave your real world name behind, and that's to protect your mortal family, so that you don't have anyone who's out for revenge against you going off and killing your mortal family members or your ancestors, or the people on further down the line. So it was done to protect them, but the vampires had no control over what name they ended up with. The vampire council decided what their name was. So but I mean, and because in my world each vampire could only have that name, like you didn't have a bunch of different Jacks running around. If there was a vampire named Jack, there was one, and it could only be reused if that vampire got killed. So, of course, you had all of these very poetic, very over-the-top names, Requiem, Stealth, but I did it on purpose. But I got so much shit off of, it's like, you're trying too hard. Why in the hell would you name them Requiem? I like the name. Okay, it's my book. If I want to name him Pumperdink, then I will. So, but yeah, I got so much flack for that. I'm like, really? It's a fiction book, and if the most you have to complain about is that you hate the vampire name, then I'm good, And I also have a half-fae named Ethereal. Okay, sorry, if you don't like it, if you think that's too over the top, then by all means do not ever read the Sweet Seduction series, because that stuff was so over the top. But again, it was done on purpose. So, but yeah, I'm getting really, really having to do some serious digging, trying to come up with some new names. And I'm the type of person that if I hate a name, I'm not going to use it for a character unless it's a character that I just can't stand, and I'm wanting to secretly kill them off or do some very bad things to them. So, the names that I pick them because I like the names. But yeah, the more you write, the harder it gets to come up with names for your characters. So, but I'm like you, between the names and the editing and me being the OCD perfectionist that I am, that to me is one of the hardest things about writing, and coming up with the time, just finding the time, because, a lot of writers, we don't have the luxury of getting to write full time. We are, having to deal with spouses, and some of us have kids, and we're working full time, and it's just being able to find the time to actually sit down and write something. I'd have to say, for me, that is one of the hardest things, is finding the time to do everything that I want to do.
Yep, that's true.
So do you have any other hobbies besides writing? I know we just discussed not really having a whole lot of time on our hands, but if you're not writing, what do you like to do?
I actually don't do much anything else except play my Sims 4. I'm pretty obsessed with my game, so I haven't actually been writing for a few days because I've been on my stupid game. I have more time than most people to write. Sometimes I don't feel like writing, and I figure if you write when you don't want to, you're going to start hating it, and it's going to feel like more like work than a hobby. So my dad told me if I don't feel like writing, don't force it, because it will start feeling like something that you don't want it to feel like.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people will say, you have to treat writing like it's a business. Well, I would love to be able to write full-time, but I took that to heart. And for a long time, that's what I did, is I treated it like it was a business. And the only way that I'm ever going to get known or be able to make a name for myself is I have to keep writing, write, and pump out, 4, 6, 8, 12 novels a year. That's what everyone keeps saying. Well, you have to keep pushing it out, keep pumping it out, keep pumping it out. And finally, one day, I got to the point where I did not want to write. It was not something that I enjoyed. My stories were suffering when I tried to force it. It was horrible. I was writing, I'd write 1,000 words, and I would write 1,000, and I'd delete 2,000. And I'd write 1,000, and I'd delete 2,000 or 3,000. So it was that 2 steps forward and 1 step back. I was just, counterproductive on everything. And finally, I realized one day that I have a full-time job. That's how I make I say it's how I make my money. It's how I half-ass pay my bills, because they don't pay me anywhere near enough to do what I do. But that's beside the point. But, that's how I make my money. Writing is not how I make my money. And as much as I like making the royalties, the thought of having to do that, I would like to do it full-time, but to be able to do that, I would have to have, a lot more sales and a lot more readers. And to me, just going and writing and forcing it and pumping out book after book after book that I don't really want to write just for the sake of trying to make a sale and still not getting those sales, to me it's not worth it. I want to be read more than anything. I want someone to read my stories and to enjoy it. So for now, that's enough. And as much as I would like to be able to do that full time, to me, it's kind of useless to sit there and force myself to write this book and hurry up, get it done, get it out there, and it gets released to the sound of crickets. No one cares. So I just drove myself insane for 6 weeks trying to pump out this book, and nobody gives a shit that it's out there. I mean, I'm competing with literally a 250,000 other writers on Facebook trying to make a name for myself. So I know other people treat it like it's a business and that's how they're making their money, but for me, that's not how I make my money. And for now, I'm perfectly content for it to be a hobby, because when it started feeling like work, I didn't want to do it. I already worked 45 plus hours a week. I did not want to come in and have to force myself into doing this. If I ever get to a point where I can do it full time and that is my job, then I'm sure I would look at it a completely different way if I knew that that's how I had to depend on my paycheck. But I also know that in order for it to get to that point, I would be making enough money for it to actually pay my bills. And when that happens, then there's a huge difference between releasing a book when you've got 50,000 people that are eagerly awaiting it and releasing a book when you have 2 people that are eagerly awaiting it.
Correct.
That's motivation. And right now, I don't have the readers motivating me to keep me, pumping out a book every month. So as long as I'm doing it as I feel like it, it's going to stay that way. Now, when I suddenly get that 500,000 readers chomping away at the bit, screaming, when's the next one coming out, I might start pumping them out once every month. But until then, that's not going to happen. So, when it starts to feel like work and I'm having to force it, I don't want to do it. So it's going to be a hobby until further notice. But that's okay, because I enjoy it, and I've seen a lot of writers get burnt out very quickly. I've noticed that a lot of writers are like, well, I produce, 8 to 12 books a year. They do that to maybe 3 years, and then they're so burnt out and you never hear anything else from them again.
Yep.
So do you ever get writer's block? And if you do, how do you actually overcome it?
I think I've only had it once, and that was because I was depressed about some other things. So I finally had to talk to Dad about it, because when my book The Return actually had I was actually almost done with it. I did have a lady, her name was Jamie. She actually told me it was horribly written, fragmented, hard to understand. So I actually stopped writing because everything that she had said hurt me so bad that I actually stopped writing, and my ideas stopped. And so I finally had my dad come in and talk to me and say, that was just one person's opinion, and you actually write fairly good, you have talent, and you need to stop worrying about other people and just write what you want and get it done when you're ready to get it done. And that's when I started rewriting again, and I let my grandma read about maybe part of a page, and she said it sounded okay. And then I finished it, but she died before she could read it. And it's my regret for the rest of my life that I didn't get it finished because one person said that it was horrible. So, to other people, I think you should just write what you want. If somebody else don't like it, that's their problem. So just write what you want and publish it, and not worry about tons of people saying it's horrible. Because I've noticed that there's some people that like it and then other people that don't. Obviously, somebody somewhere likes it, and it can't be that bad if you have two different opinions from two different people. Now, if they all say it's bad, then yeah, maybe there's something wrong. But when you have more than one person saying it's okay and other people saying it's bad, just take it with a grain of salt is what I'm starting to finally learn.
Absolutely. It's like with anything else. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. You can't please all the people all the time. So I write for those that want to read it and like what I write. And for those who don't, sorry, maybe you'll like the next one. So are you a plotter or a pantser when it comes to writing? Are you one of those that sits and does cork boards and wants to outline everything, or you just sit down and just write and whatever comes out, comes out?
I just write. Except right now I have to do an outline so that Nicola will help me with one of my books. I haven't done an outline since high school, and I'm like, how in the world do I make an outline?
Now, for the most part,
I forgot how.
I'm like that. Now, for the most part, I'm a pantser. I just sit and just write. I have a general idea, and I will just sit down and just let the story flow, let the characters tell me what's going on. There is one that I'm writing that's a little bit outside my comfort zone that I do want to do. It's going to be a pirate romance called Sea of Seduction. But I've discovered that I'm actually sitting and outlining it because it's kind of set back in the late 1800s. So I'm having to do a lot of research on on how clothing was, what the boats looked like at the time, how the pirate business actually was. That because I'm having to do so much research to make it more authentic, I'm discovering that I'm actually having to sit down and do an outline for it. That it's not something that I normally do, but when I start writing something that I'm not familiar with and it's kind of outside my comfort zone, I feel better if I make an outline. But this is pretty much going to be one of the first times that I've actually sat and done something that was so far outside my realm of knowledge and outside my comfort zone. So I'm a little bit apprehensive, but excited at the same time. And I'm thinking this is probably going to be something that's going to take a while to actually get finished.
Yep, and you have to do extra detail and everything. Yeah, it might take a little extra time. But it sounds kind of interesting, though. I haven't read a pirate book in a long time. I know you used to see movies with that type of stuff, but you don't see too many books about it, I don't think.
Yeah, it's I know when I was on my Harlequin romance kick when I was a teenager, most of the romances were set back in Victorian times or during the Viking times, much further back in history, whereas nowadays most of your romance is contemporary. It's all based in present day. But I loved the Harlequin romances when I was growing up. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know why the thought struck me one day. I'm like, no, I'd really like to write a pirate romance. And I was wondering if they would even be, if anyone would even be interested. You know, I kind of went on Amazon and looked, and there was like maybe 2 pages. You know, if you actually looked in Amazon and put in the keywords pirate romance, there was, like I said, maybe 2 full pages of books, and then it started off on like really weird stuff that had nothing to do with pirates and nothing to do with romance. So I'm like, well, maybe there's not as many sitting out there as what I thought there was. And then I put on Facebook, you know, I kind of tossed that out there. You know, I feel like writing a pirate romance. If I did, would anybody actually be interested in reading that? And that was one of the most liked and commented on posts that I have ever done on Facebook. I think I ended up with something like 50-something likes on it, and a dozen or so comments. Everybody's like, yes, I want to read it, I want to read it, I want to read it. I'm like, okay, well, apparently I need to write a pirate romance because that's not something that anyone is doing right now. So, and unfortunately, I just gave away the master plan to everybody, and like next month there'll be 50 million pirate romances hit Amazon. Y'all just have to wait for mine. I'm sorry, I'm not that good. It takes time to come up with this perverted sense of imagination sometimes.
Yeah.
The book that I've got coming out, hopefully it's not the end of February, then definitely the first week of March. It's called Micah's Ember. And I literally took me about 3 weeks to write this book, but I've already spent 2 weeks doing rewrites, and I'm barely halfway finished. And of course, there will still be the mountains of edits and all the formatting and the graphic artwork that will have to be done.
Yeah, it'll take a while. Yep.
So yeah, I've noticed that with me. Like, I don't understand. It takes them twice as long to get the edits and the rewrites and the formatting done as what it does to write them. So writing's not necessarily something that's holding me back all the time. Usually. I think I've been writing on Clan of the Claw for like 3 years. When did Immortal Sins come out? In November of 2014. So, yeah, I'm coming up on about 2.5 years that I've been writing on that book off and on, and I think I'm maybe a third of the way through it.
Wow.
So, yeah, I may finish it and I may not. And the sad part is I have like, I think it's 4 other books that I had planned in that series after this one. But like I said, it's very serious, and I agonize over every word that I put down for all of the books that's come with that series. And it's just that series. Everything else that I've written, I mean, I'm just like, you know, running through it, just, you know, pumping it out. And I don't know what it is about this particular series, and I guess it may be because it's so close and dear to my heart, because every character in that series, in all the books, is all based off of someone. Yep. Whether that was a celebrity or someone that I knew in real life. And the entire series is actually based off of 3 different role-playing games that I used to play online. So all the characters are, you know, dealing after the people that I played with, you know, all my other role players. So I guess maybe that's why I agonize so much, is because that series is so close and so near and dear to my heart that I take a lot more time and put a lot more effort into it. But I honestly think with me that's kind of dragging me down, because I go back and I read, you know, the stuff that I've written, and it may be because I've stopped and started so much, maybe why it sounds so choppy to me. But just reading the stuff that I've done lately and going back and reading the stuff in the Before the Sunrise series, I guess maybe since I've agonized over it so much, to me it just doesn't, it sounds not necessarily choppy, but just too formal. It doesn't really sound like me. It's very formal, and it doesn't really flow as well to me as some of the other stuff. And like I said, I guess maybe it's just because I've stopped and started so much. So, are you traditionally published, or are you self-published, or kind of a hybrid author?
Well, I'm not really sure what Lost Cave is considered as, because I know they actually let you kind of self-publish also, but I consider them as a publisher. I guess I'm published and self-published, and published through my author friend Nicola who has her own publishing company. So I'm a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think a lot of authors these days are kind of hybrid. I know Lots Cave considers them a publisher, but because you're not signing exclusive print rights with them, to me they're more of a distributor because you still have that option of
oh, true. Yeah,
of keeping, you're not selling print rights. You still have your print rights. You still have your copyright. So even though they are putting your books out on certain platforms, you are still able to take those books and publish them yourself or through another publisher on the different platforms that they don't offer. So, yeah, I would consider them more of a distributor. I know that T. Wolfe really considers them to be a publisher, but from a publisher standpoint, someone that's been in the business as long as I have, he's really technically not a publisher. He's more of a distributor, much like Smashwords is.
True.
So, but yeah, I think most authors these days are pretty much what I consider hybrid authors. I know that I put together my own publishing company back in 2005, and even though it's my own company, it's still considered to be self-published. And I was with an actual trade publisher a year before last that they picked up the Red Fang, and they had it for about a year, I think, before the company went under. So now, even though I was traditionally published at one time, I still consider myself a hybrid author, although at this point in time, I really have absolutely no intentions of signing another publishing contract with anyone unless it's Random House. Unless I have one of the big five come and knocking on my door, I just cannot see going through that again because I was absolutely miserable the entire year that I was with Book Trope. I hated it. As soon as I signed the contract and got to looking around and actually, seeing how everything worked with them, I immediately regretted my decision. So I was one of these few authors that was actually jumping for joy when I got the email stating that they were closing down. I mean, I screamed. I jumped up out of my chair at my desk and started screaming. I mean, I was just that excited that I was finally getting my print rights back because I'd been utterly miserable. And they had had the book for over a year, and I never saw 1 cent royalties off of it. Not 1 penny in over a year did I ever see a royalty from that company.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of companies have been doing that, actually, to authors where they haven't seen any money from their books.
Yeah.
So you never know who to trust. Yeah.
Exactly, because I know we had that big scandal that happened with the Laura's Cave when they shut down. And then I've seen a lot of little small publishers, announcing on Facebook recently that they were closing their doors and was, giving all the reprint rights and the copyrights and everything back to the authors they had under them. And then most recently we had, I think it was All Romance or All E-Romance or something like that, that was another large romance publisher, a lot like in Laura's Cave was, that they shut their doors. And I believe that I think the email went out like on a Sunday, and they were closing their doors down like 3 or 4 days later. So at least with Book Trope, I think I got a 30-day notice that they were, closing down. But the All Romance people were really, it was kind of like in Laura's Cave. There was a lot of very, very upset authors because they were pretty much offering them a very small payout compared to what they should have get. It was like pennies on the dollar for the amount of royalties that they had left for them. And the bad thing about Book Trope was when they closed down, they're like, we'll finish paying you, but all the contracts that you signed with your editor, with your proofreader, with your marketing manager, with your book cover designer, you still have to pay them out for the rest of your contract, the rest of the 5-year contract. So there was a lot of very pissed off authors, which thankfully most everyone kind of absolved the authors from any further financial obligation because I don't think anybody in that company was actually making any money off of anything. There was a lot of of the book designers and the editors and everything. As a matter of fact, my editor left the company long before they shut their doors. I think my book was one of the very last ones that he edited before he left the company. So, but we were lucky that our design team was willing to absolve us from any financial liability. So, but yeah, a lot of pissed off people, but I don't think authors quite realize just how many books and how many authors are hitting Amazon every single day. And it's one of the, I've actually written about this on my blog quite a few times, talking about that, you know, everybody's like, oh, well, publishers were the gatekeeper and they were just trying to keep everybody down and they were just, you know, turning people away just to be turning them away, and they don't know good talent when they see it. And what they don't understand is that, one, publishing is a business. They are picking up books that they think that they can make money off of, and they may absolutely love something, but if they think that it's going to be a niche and not something that they can push worldwide and push onto a large number of people, they're not going to pick it up. But more importantly, what they don't realize is that publishers were keeping a shit ton of books from hitting the shelf every month. Trade publishing companies only put out maybe 100,000 books every single year. You have over 250,000 books hitting Amazon every single month, and it is saturating the market. What publishers were doing, they weren't just turning people away to be turning them away. They were ensuring that the few people that was actually making money as a writer they were actually getting royalties and they were actually able to keep writing. But since you don't have anybody holding that back, the market is absolutely flooded. So whereas you had a handful of authors making decent money at it, that tiny piece of pie has now become minuscule because you have so many people in the marketplace now. And I don't think authors quite realize just how bad Amazon screwed everybody when they said, hey, let's let everybody publish. It's great that my books are out there, but when I'm having to compete with literally everybody and their brother, it's not good for me because I'm not making shit. I'm just working myself into the ground. And it's, you know, something that I've noticed universal across authors, that even those that did really well, at some point, you know, they put out a book and holy shit, you know, I sold 30,000 copies. It was a fluke. They've never done it since then. They did it that one time and then that's been it. And it's because you have so many people. It's the shiny thing syndrome is what I see. And it's what I tell people, you know, readers, it's, you know, it's like being, seeing something shiny, getting sidetracked by seeing something shiny. Yeah, they love you and everything, but in the time it took you to write a book, and even if you were able to write a book every single month, in that month that it took you to get a book ready, you've had another 50,000 books to hit Amazon by, you know, 5, 6, 10,000 new authors. They're just swimming in it. They got sidetracked by all the shiny things, and they're just hopping from one author to another. And I literally cannot even keep track of how many people on my Facebook friends list are actually authors now, because it's just, I'm swimming in them. And it's just, I don't think authors quite realize what the publishing houses were doing when they were constantly rejecting. I can remember someone had said that they had a friend that was at a very small publishing company. It wasn't like it was one of the big five, but they had taken a picture of what they called the manuscript room, that it was the room where all of the manuscripts came in that people had sent in for consideration. And this was a huge conference room type area that was stacked floor to ceiling, 6 feet high, all around the walls, and stacked up on tables of all the manuscripts that they had gotten sent in. that was waiting for someone to pick them up and read it and decide whether or not they wanted to publish it. And you're still getting that. People are still sending manuscripts in like that to publishers. And if you've got that many going to publishers, you can just imagine how many more are bypassing publishers completely and actually, uploading to Amazon. So it's no wonder none of us are making any money off of it. It's another reason why I kind of have to keep it as a hobby, because I've got a mortgage, I've got a car note, I've got to keep a roof over everybody's head. So I don't have the luxury of hoping that I make money off of it. I have to have another plan in place to make sure that my bills get paid. So for those that can do it full time, I'm happy for you. I'm a little bit jealous, but for me, it's not something that I think is very feasible.
Yep. I guess that's why I like my taboo ones, because they are selling better, and it's not on Amazon. I've noticed that, don't get me wrong, I like Amazon, but I actually had a couple of reviews on there that was legit, and they took them off. So my few reviews I have are gone. And I know you have to have a certain amount of reviews before your book gets listed more often for people to even see it. So right now I'm not very fond of Amazon. That's why I like Barnes & Noble and Smashwords.
Yeah,
and Lovecape.
As a writer, I much prefer Smashwords. And now I will admit that the regular, what I call, my action adventure, my straight-up romance books have not done very well on Amazon, or on Smashwords at all. As a matter of fact, I have not sold anything. But my more erotica, my more taboo erotica, sell much better on Smashwords. And and what's crazy about it is it's stuff that was listed on Amazon that I delisted and put it over exclusively on Smashwords and their affiliate, and they're being bought. But they were completely buried at Amazon. So as a writer, I much prefer Smashwords because I'm not doing squat on Amazon. I mean, I'm literally going months, not a couple of weeks, not a couple of days, but literally months that I'm not selling a damn thing over on Amazon.
Nope.
So, but now as a reader, it's very hard to find anything on Smashwords. I really wish that they would revamp how they list things, and like their bestsellers list and everything. I wish they would completely redo that to make it a little bit easier to find things. Because what I noticed was when I first listed it, people found it very easily and were buying it. And once it, people, and I guess it's because they have a list of like things that just got published. So, when you publish and it gets accepted, you're on top of that list, and as people publish after you, you get bumped further and further down. So right after I published something, I got a lot of hits. I had a lot of buys. But the further down that list that I moved, suddenly my buys and my purchases started tapering off. And so the only way to get anybody to notice it now is that you've got to move volume to hit another one of Smashwords, list. Because I think they have like the recently published, the most bought, and then the most reviewed. So you've got those three things that you can get on it when you first publish, and then you've got to have either a lot of reviews or move a lot of copies to be able to hit the other two lists to stay relevant. Otherwise, you're out there having to pimp your stuff out, and heaven only knows where people are actually advertising this stuff. I cannot for the life of me figure out where they're advertising their books to be getting the kind of reads that they get. I've tried doing the blog tours. Those failed miserably. I've done release parties. Those flopped. I've done cover reveal parties. Those did not do nearly as well as what I thought they would have. I have 3 PAs, bless their heart, that they are pimping me out in Facebook groups like crazy, and I am still going months without making any sales. And I'm just about to the point where I'm like, okay, well, you know what? If my regular romance and action adventure is not what's selling, what is selling? And when I look to see what it is that's selling, it's ridiculously easy writing. I love writing the erotica. Uh, it's a lot of fun, and it's not something that you really have to sit and go and research for a year, like a pirate romance, to make sure that you get all the authentic, everything's authentic and sounds right. So if that's what's selling, then that's what I'm going to start writing.
Yep. I figure we can all write different ones and just use pen names if we need to. I mean, I've heard other people do at least 3 different pen names and do 3 different types of books. So I guess that's what I'm going to start doing. Because now I found out from, can you think of his name right now? Richard, I'm not sure how to say his last name, but it's D-E, and then it's Morlini or whatever it is. He's on Facebook. He's an editor and author, and he actually had me do a book with other writers, and he's finally going to finish it, and I'm going to be known as Jessica Scott on that as a pen name. So that one's going to be like a demon's horror type thing. So I figure we can all do a little bit of everything.
Absolutely, and it's not uncommon for authors, to, and in the beginning I was one of those, it's like I'm trying to build up the Nicola brand, everything is going to be under my name, but then, I started, the stuff that I do under Nicola is a lot different from some of the erotica that I've done in the past and that I'm kind of moving towards doing again. So I have branched off and have done a completely separate pen name that I'm writing the more taboo erotica under.
Yep.
And that's fine. It's not uncommon for authors to have multiple pen names. I think it would actually probably scare people if they knew exactly how many pen names Stephen King wrote under.
Yep.
And it's not that uncommon for Stephen King to hit the New York Times bestsellers list under 3 or 4 different names at the same time because he is turning out so much material. So, there's a couple of authors that I know that I'm actually friends with that they will write under several pen names. So, absolutely, I'm to the point now to where it's all about having fun and, getting readers, engaging readers, and, getting some royalties out of it. So I'm looking forward to doing some more taboo erotica and just, trying to get my different pen names out there and just having fun. I think a lot of authors are just so caught up in trying to make it into a business and trying to make a name for themselves that they forgot that, this was supposed to be about fun and telling a really great story and having fun with it. And I'm hoping that that's kind of, that I can get back into that mindset of just having fun with it. And it is one of the things that I love about writing with you is because it's not, when I'm writing by myself, I'm so stressed out. And then, you're pushing me to get it done, but it's fun. It's not me stressed out. I'm having a lot of fun with this shit, and I really, that's what I need to be able to keep going forward and to keep writing is that it's got to go back to being fun for me because when it's me pushing and stressing myself out, I don't have any fun. So it's just all about the fun, and I love pushing those boundaries, seeing just how crazy and out there and what kind of boundaries we can push. And I'm looking forward to doing that with some of the taboo erotica. There's a lot of stuff that I never really thought about writing before, but you've kind of, put bugs in my ear and my little brain's back here going, ooh, we could do this and we could do that, and ooh, this sounds like fun, and oh, that would make a really great story.
Yep, so, that's how I look at it. And that's what you were saying, too, that you do smut. Well, smut, I should say. I don't want to consider it that because everybody does the deed. It doesn't matter who it's with or whatever. Everybody has done it. I don't know why it's so naughty, but I think it's still fun to write. And I don't know, it gives me extra feelings because I can picture what I'm writing, and that kind of helps me in a whole different way for myself, me and my relationship. And that's why I came on with the very taboo stuff that T. Wolf lets me do. That actually helps me to feel better with the brother and sister. It gives me a different perspective of things that no other writing thing can do. I think maybe it's because it's wrong, maybe, but as I picture two strangers doing that, it's kind of interesting to write. And like you said, you can write pretty much anything, make it into a story, because mine actually storylines. There's a difference between plain smut and a storyline smut. Two different things. So that's why I know it's not complete just smut, in my opinion.
Well, there's definitely nothing wrong with smut, gutter trash, as I like to refer to it as. But yeah, everybody does it. And even though, and I do think that's the difference between what I want to call porn, but unfortunately porn is not a legitimate category on anything. But to me, porn is like when it's nothing but a bunch of sex scenes and there's no storyline.
Exactly.
Erotica, if written right, erotica actually has a storyline behind it.
Yes.
There's meaning, there's a storyline there. So, and mine's like that. Even though it's erotica, it all has a storyline. There is some deeper meaning to it. There is usually a romance going on with it. So, but yeah, everybody does it. Have fun with it. Write the taboo stuff. I think my biggest thing that pisses me off is when people start screaming, "You shouldn't write about that." My ass, it's fiction. If you cannot distinguish the difference between fiction and real life, something's wrong. Stop buying books. Stop reading. If they upset you that damn bad, don't read it. I mean, and granted, now there's stuff that I have read that has absolutely, that I couldn't get through it, has turned my stomach. But I'm not going to sit there and tell them, you shouldn't write that. There's some stuff that I read on XN that would absolutely cause your toenails to curl up. And it's because some of the stuff that I've read, I've actually heard news stories about it happening. And it not have a good ending. Of course, it's a news story, so it usually ended up, with someone dead at the end of it. So, it was not a happy ending. But even as much as I hated the story, I wasn't going to sit there and tell them you shouldn't write it.
Yeah.
It's my choice on whether or not I want to read it, and if it upsets me that bad, then I choose to step away and not read it. And I don't understand why people do this about books. I mean, if they see a TV show that they think is going to upset them, they're not going to watch it. I don't see them demanding that TV show be taken off the air. If they see a movie that they think is going to upset them, they don't run off and watch it and then try to get people to boycott it and try to get the movie removed out of circulation, never to see the light of day because it upsets them. But I'm seeing more and more instances of authors, and actual authors is what drives me insane. This isn't readers. It is authors that are getting together and reporting books in mass amounts to Amazon to get them pulled because they didn't agree with the subject matter. What the hell? Who does that?
That's actually what T. Wolf was talking about. He said that's why he said that my rape stuff would not go on Amazon because he thought that they had actually banned it because of people doing that.
Well,
but I'm not sure if I have to. I should try to actually contact them and make sure because they were getting the first and second book confused. The second book is still on there, but that one don't have the intense stuff. That was just murder and blackmail. It's totally different.
here's the thing about Amazon. Everything with Amazon is automated. You don't have somebody that's going in and reading it. They are relying on the readers to report material that goes against their guidelines. So, and it depends on the author, because if you look, you have the Lolita story, which is pretty much a guide to being a pedophile. That's still on there. And it is one of the best sellers. It is one of the most critically acclaimed books on the planet. But
to be okay.
Yeah, but Amazon refuses to take it down because it's making them money. There was an author that had their book, and it was actually #1 in several categories and was selling very well on Amazon when a bunch of people got together and went and reported it, and Amazon yanked it because of a rape scene, but well, not a rape scene, but basically someone had, it was Stockholm Syndrome, someone had went and kidnapped this woman and was holding her against her will, with the, and everything. And people were just, I don't think they were pissed off about what was happening in the book. I think they were pissed off because it was selling so damn well, to be honest with you. But they removed it because so many people were complaining about it. Now, this had been up for months. The book had been out for months. No one, until someone said something to Amazon about it, Amazon wasn't going to remove it. And what is insane about it is that Anne Rice is, and of course I love Anne Rice. I'm not picking on Anne Rice because I actually love Anne Rice and I have a hell of a lot of respect for the woman. But her Sleeping Beauty series was bondage and being kidnapped and held against her will and sexual exploration and all this kind of stuff. And you bet your ass Amazon's not about to remove anything of Anne Rice's, because Anne Rice is making them money hand over fist.
Oh, yeah. So I kind of wrote kind of like her son, kind of.
Yeah, so even if it goes against their community guidelines, until you have enough of people complain about it, Amazon's not going to remove it.
So that's why I was okay for 2012, because most of my people bought it through me, and I only had, like I said, I had a few reviews, but they took them down.
Yeah, and that's another.
Some of them actually bought it and read it and put the thing, they still took it off. I'm like, dang you! So that's probably why I didn't do anything, because I didn't have enough people noticing me.
Yeah, you didn't have enough of people bitching about it. But in all honesty, what I'm noticing is if you are going to write erotica, especially if you're going to write something that's a bit more risque and a little bit more taboo, you'd come out better putting it on Smashwords, because right now that is where all of my sales on my erotica is coming from, is Smashwords.
Well, that's where it's going to go once T. Wolf's done. Like I said, I had Sarah Englert, she's an author. I don't remember what her first book is right now, for the life of me. It's on Amazon. But she had said it needed more editing, but T. Wolf didn't really complain about it, so I'm not sure if he's going to just go ahead and publish it, or if he's going to give it back to me in an email so I can fix it. I have no idea. Once it's on there, it'll go through Smashwords through him. So I wanted him to do it. Then I had my proofreader and all that, and he had a good book cover. I'll have to email you the book cover, or on Messenger I'll send you the book cover. But so I'm still waiting to know. I wrote him again this morning. I haven't heard back, so I'm hoping it'll go up soon. He's at it for a couple months now, so we'll see. And that's the one you have. It's just gonna have a new book cover and more scenes. So it will go on Smashwords and Barnes & Noble once he gets it published.
Yeah. And you can put it on Amazon, but like I said, I've just noticed that with anything that anyone considers risque now, does a lot better on Smashwords than it does Amazon.
Yeah.
There's some of mine. There's actually one of my pen names that I write under, and of course it is all what I consider to be, more hardcore erotica, more taboo subjects that all of it is, well, it's not exclusive through Smashwords. It's Smashwords, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, iBooks, but it goes through them. I'm not even bothering putting it up on Amazon because I don't think that it would do very well. And I might one day put it up on Amazon, but for now it's being sold exclusively through Smashwords and their distributors.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to put it back on Amazon because it already has the IBN number and all that. They even have the file and everything still. I just have to give them the new file and do the new cover and all that. But so technically it's already been published. It's just it has the number and everything. I have to decide if I'm going to take the scene out or not. That'd be a big chunk of my book.
Like I said, I would publish it because since you're somebody actually complains about it,
yeah.
They're not going to do anything about it. Which is one of the reasons why I've debated on putting up some of the stuff that I've done through Smashwords under my alternate pen name. I've debated on, and some of it I may go back and upload to Amazon later on, but right now I'm just doing a lot better on Smashwords, so until that starts to dry up, then I'm probably not even going to fool with Amazon.
Yep, that's why I was going to put it through him, because that's what I did. I added a bunch of the BDSM, and I even had her escape a couple of times. So you don't have that part, but once it's published, I could probably, once I buy a couple copies, I'll send you the new version for free. So that way you have both versions. The one that has mistakes and one that hopefully will not. Like I said, everybody has different opinions, and I'm just so tired of people saying it's okay and then other people saying it's not. It's just frustrating. It's like, who do you believe?
Well, what I always do is I listen to the technical stuff. If someone can tell me, okay, you've got editing problems, as in you've used the wrong words and it needs like edits, and I'm not talking about developmental edits where like you don't like the way it's written or you don't like the storyline, but something that's actually tangible, something that I can fix. If you don't like my writing style, there's not a whole hell of a lot I can do about it. But if you can tangibly say, okay, I didn't like it because you had so many editing errors, I can have that fixed. You know, that's not a deal breaker. I can go and have that fixed. But if I have somebody telling me, oh, well, I hated it because your characters weren't believable, and I don't think that would ever really happen in real life, and I just didn't like the color of that dress that she wore that time, that's not tangible shit that I can fix. And I didn't write it for you. I wrote it for me. If I wanted to put them in a red dress, I would have put her in a red dress. If I wanted to name her Anne, I would have named her Anne rather than Ethereal. If I wanted a vampire named William running around, then that's what I would have had instead of a vampire named Requiem. So if if it's stupid ass shit like that, then I take it with a grain of salt. I move on about my business. There was one of my PAs had messaged me, and she had put an advertisement in a Facebook group for me for the Red Fang. And someone was like just going absolute ape shit talking about, oh, well, it's more vampires and werewolves, and that's been done to death. And, oh, there's a romance. This is Underworld all over again. And, oh, if the vampire and the werewolf is getting together, then you just, did a spoof of Underworld and all this kind of shit. And it was kind of pissing my PA off about it, and I'm like wanting to break out the popcorn and go, watch this unfold, because to me it was hilarious. Because, I'm like, you are basing this off of a book cover and a blurb.
Yeah.
You have absolutely no idea what's going on with it, and it was incredibly funny to me, considering that I knew what happened in the book, and that it's nothing like Underworld at all, other than it has vampires and werewolves in it, and it pretty much stopped at that. So, yeah, I mean, if it's something like that, sorry, I can't help you. But if you want to sit there and tell me, okay, you had 500 editing errors in the first chapter, and I could not get through it because of all the editing mistakes, I can fix that. I can hire a proofreader. I can get an editor. But if your only complaint is that you hate their names or you don't think that something like that could actually ever happen, talk to the hand, because Nicola is going on to the next book, and I cannot be bothered with your ass.
Well, she didn't give me complete details. She did say it was repetitive. And I repeated myself a lot. So that's about all I remember saying. Oh, and she didn't like the back of my book cover because of how I said my words. So she did at least fix that. But other than that, she doesn't really. And she would do it for really cheap, but I don't have $350 for her to edit it right now.
Yeah, unfortunately,
I don't have that.
Editors, especially if you're going to get, a line editor, a developmental line editor, someone that's going to help you with syntax and flow and help you kind of bring out your writing style, those can get very, very expensive very quickly.
Yes.
But if you're looking for someone just to look at proofreading, most proofreaders,
cheaper, but
yeah, proofreaders, usually you can get a 100,000 word book proofread for under $100.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely if you're just looking for proofreaders, and those are a whole hell of a lot cheaper than getting someone to go in and help you with syntax and developmental areas and whatnot. So, but yeah, I mean, if someone can't tell me tangibly what's wrong, you had editing errors, you repeated yourself.
She just said there's a lot of problems with it. And that's all she had really said, problems and repetitiveness.
And that doesn't
and
tell me a whole lot.
Half this book was haunted, a porn site type thing. I had a lot of readers, actually, because I think I had it at, was it 20K words, I think, on XN, and it's still up there to this day. I've been checking, making sure it's still there. And I know half of it has been read by a lot of readers. And nobody really complains about it. So, because people do notice your mistakes. You was on there, on that site. They were pretty picky. So
yeah, you definitely had the grammar Nazis on XN.
So, I mean, there might have been a few things, and maybe the new stuff I told her, but I guess I might have done a little bit of repetitiveness, but and I was needing to know how to do more showing instead of telling. That was the other thing she said. And I probably do need to work on that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's I think it's one of the more difficult things that most writers face is learning how to show something rather than just telling it.
Telling. Yep, that was the other thing.
All right.
So.
Thank you, Angel, for joining me tonight and kind of being my guinea pig with this first ever episode of Full On Insanity with Nicola Matt. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. Look for more episodes coming really soon. Until then, this is Nicola Matthews saying peace, love, and books, y'all. Thank you, Angel, for joining me tonight and kind of being my guinea pig with this first ever episode of Full On Insanity with Nicola Matt. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. Look for more episodes coming really soon. Until then, this is Nicola Matthews saying peace, love, and books, y'all.